WagerTalk one-day power pass, you receive every play from every betting consultant for one full day at the ridiculously discounted price of just $149. What's better than spending the day watching and following a great slate of games? Watching, following, and winning those games. Get every WagerTalk expert and every game they release for that day.
Welcome into First Pitch Wednesday, May 12th. We're going over 4 games, Asian baseball play, best bets at the end. We got the cast of characters with me, Tony Finn and Mid-Major Matt. Tony from WagerTalk.com, Mid-Major Matt from SportsMemo.com. Mid-Major Matt, first up here, welcome in. Matt Joseph's expert page at SportsMemo.com. Happy Wednesday morning to you, buddy.
Happy Wednesday morning to you as well, Drew. 5-1 day yesterday, which felt pretty good, and already a winner today. One of the big sports books had a massive error line that they put up and took advantage of that early. Also have the Pirates run total under early on in this game, so we're hoping to start off our Wednesday with some more wins.
Already in action, interested in what Matt has to say on these games. And like always, guys, Tony Finn, the exciting one, and knows his baseball as well, guys. Tony, welcome in.
Thank you, guys, very much. I'm excited to hear about this massive line mistake, too. I want to hear about this because every time I take advantage of a massive line mistake, they always alert me after I win, and rarely alert me if I happen to lose on that massive line mistake. Yesterday for me, 4-0, 3-0 in baseball. Good day. Hit a 5%er with the former Cy Young and MVP from the San Francisco Giants. What happened? What's his name, by the way? Never can pronounce that. But the Arizona comes through and defeats the offensively challenged Miami Marlins. That's what I got for you.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do today.
Hey, Matt, like Tony was asking, the massive change was at FanDuel Sportsbook. And I guess that's one of the benefits of legal sports betting here. They got to pay. They got to stick with it. You know, sometimes in the old days when you would take advantage of those bad odds that they would throw up from, overseas, let's call it sports books, you would get an email like Tony's saying, like, hey, thanks for playing with us, but we're not going to honor it. Doesn't sound like that's the case with what you're talking about.
Well, we'll see what happens, but earlier today I posted on Twitter that FanDuel Sportsbook had Sonny Gray's strikeout total at 4.5, and it was at -130, and then it was at -143, and then got taken down and then reappeared at -6.5 over juiced it to like -160. But he has 5 strikeouts through 3 innings, so that was a winner. And we'll see, hopefully, and they should pay me out for that winner early, and post it on Twitter. So make sure to follow me for things like that when they happen.
Unless
on
there's
Twitter at Mid-Major Matt. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
No, unless there's a disclaimer that is on the site, which is typical. Usually there'll be a disclaimer somewhere that says, listen, in case of a technical or a line error, posted line error, they would revert the game back to a no play. So unless that's there, and a lot of times a site like FanDuel, unless you've got 20 mortgages, Matt, on the game, if it wasn't, and typically they limit propositions anyway. From my experience, I don't know how, but FanDuel they're quite well funded and staffed, so it was probably an error. I would say that 4.5 was an error, and it's a good catch by you. I hope they honor it, but usually they have that disclaimer somewhere on the site too.
All right, guys, let's get into the games here. Starting near the East Coast anyway, the interleague matchup, Toronto and the Atlanta Braves. We get Ryu versus Max Fried here going in this one, Matt. Seeing Atlanta about -112, as high as -115 here, 7.5 being the total in the ATL. What are you thinking with the Blue Jays and Braves tonight, Matt?
Well, I mean, this is a Braves team that is pretty bad against left-handed pitchers, and then this stuff I won't repeat all the statistics because my best bet towards the end has to do with Hyunjin Ryu. But I mean, this is a Braves team hitting 185 against left-handed pitchers, and they've struggled against them. And you look at the list of guys. I mean, look at yesterday. Robbie Ray had 10 strikeouts and looked once again like Cy Young on the mound for Toronto. And it's just this is Max Fried that we still don't know yet. And I'm glad that Tony's on the panel because he knows that he's the second second coming of Walter Johnson or something like that when it comes to left-handers. But, Fried has been good, but he hasn't been great yet, and he's still kind of working his way back. Only 4 starts so far this season. Who knows how deep he's going to go in terms of 5 or 6 innings. But to me, the edge goes to the road team here because the Atlanta Braves are just so bad against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. Tony, I think the wrong team is favored here. I mean, talking about Max Fried, the former first rounder in 2012, this season, I think Matt was being nice, thinking he's been good. I mean, 15 earned runs in 16 innings? I like the road dog as well here, Tony. What are you thinking?
I will say this. Fried had a little time off from his last start. I can't remember now. I don't have the numbers from me. I didn't look because I had something to say about this game. It was going to be pretty simple. That it was much like yesterday's game, I thought, in my opinion, even though they had a pitching change on the Atlanta side. But Fried had an hamstring issue. It wasn't an arm issue that he was off 10 days or whatever it was. He had that lack or that slack between those starts. And he was pretty good last game against Washington, if I believe that was the start. It was Fried and I can't remember who pitched for, was it Fetties or something for Washington. But it had to do with his release point, his landing foot and his release point. It was off in the first 3 or 4 starts he had, and he commented after the win against Washington that was the issue. And while he was off because of a hamstring problem that he had running the bases in the game, again, when he got injured, it wasn't an arm issue, that he had corrected that. He looked much better last time, and I suspect that he will continue to get that timing, release point, so that he gets top velocity. He'd lost some velocity, and that was the reason why. Toronto's middle of the pack against left-handed hitters, and as Matt said, Atlanta's they're not historically bad like Detroit, but they're pretty darn inept. And I like the under in yesterday's game when it originally had Fried in the starting slot there. I like the under in this game as well in Atlanta. In the side, probably would lean towards Toronto, as you guys are doing, or at least as you did, Drew, and would leave it at that. It's nothing I jumped at this morning and released my clients, but that would be my lean.
And Tony, I'm interested in your opinion on this total. I mean, 7.5. When you see the Blue Jays lineup and the Atlanta lineup, like coming into this season, like 7.5, that almost seems off, But you're right. I mean, the Braves have really struggled against lefties. Both of these pitchers, I guess we could say, in the better pitchers in MLB anyway. So I actually think it's right on. It's just bringing in the side and the total together, Tony, at this almost being a pick'em price, slightly now towards the Atlanta Braves. How much do you factor in a low total here, wanting to bet the under, and the fact that the market's telling us that an increased likelihood of this going to extra innings, we get the runner on second, that kind of kills unders. Do you factor that into your handicap and wanting to bet the under?
Well, I want to say no, but with the rules change, unders are, listen, I'm an unders guy. First and foremost, I play more unders than I do overs. Why? Because we're a winner before the game even starts. They have to beat us. We don't have to beat them. And for the most part, it's the sharp side. I mean, the public loves to play the favorite overs, not only in baseball, but in football, particularly in football and basketball. And this, I don't do it, but the new rule, listen, our new extra innings rules, when you put a runner on second base, is, I don't know that the odds makers have baked that in yet into the number, but eventually that's something that has to be baked in, especially if you're in a game that's going to be, you believe might be close, that it might go to extra innings. And if it does, a 7.5 total it has a really good chance of, even if it was 1-1 or 2-2, has a chance to be wiped completely out because extra innings have. Listen, we're going to have more extra innings games where you'll have a run in the top of the extra inning and in the bottom. That one run that seems when you get a runner second base with nobody out. We all know the percentages, guys. The percentages are much higher than nobody out and nobody on. So I don't listen. It's not a part of my handicapping scheme or my daily routine, but I sure look at it more than I used to.
Yeah, sure. And Matt, real quick, are you factoring that in at all? The spread being about even here, a likelihood of it going to extra innings and a low total?
I just don't take unders anymore. It's first five unders, and it's just I don't take unders. It's full game overs, first five unders. That's it. I mean, there's no the full game over in theory is going to help only by the extra innings and by unreliable bullpens. You can't handicap who's coming in. You can't handicap overtime in these games. So why not have them instead of having them hurt you? Let's have them help you, and that's why you take full game overs as opposed to ever taking full game unders.
Just do away with them. Mid-major, Matt. Guys, he's hot right now. 5-1 yesterday, 33-23 in K props this season. Check him out, sportsmemo.com. Second game up here, Minnesota Twins, Chicago White Sox, 8:10 Eastern first pitch. J.A. Happ, the lefty, going for the Twins. Dallas Keuchel, also the lefty, going for the White Sox. We're seeing the White Sox as high as -136 now, Tony. Total of 8. We know the White Sox versus the lefty. Looking to bet on the White Sox today. At least I am. What are you thinking today?
Yeah, if the White Sox are facing a left-hander, then I'm either on the White Sox or I'm not in the room. I'm out of the game. And in this case, what's funny with Happ is that Minnesota has been they've had a short leash on Happ. If Happ has found any kind of trouble at all, they have just yanked him. They're not going to let him try to pitch through what's the word for it, guys? A turmoil or stress or anything like that. Look at his lines. Look at his game logs. You'll find that. And in this case, I was one of those who was against Minnesota as far as their team series total. I didn't think they were going to compete with Chicago. I liked Chicago above and beyond normal in season team win totals. I did until I realized that I was wrong, that Tony La Russa is not still alive. Tony La Russa is just walking. He's a zombie, a walking zombie. He's made so many mistakes, coaching mistakes. In fact, he even went public with a couple of those last week and said, hey, I mismanaged it. He didn't even know the extra innings rules in one game, what can happen with a pitcher, et cetera, et cetera. Being the guy that would be on second base. I like the Chicago White Sox. Anytime they're facing a left-hander, I like him today.
And Matt, what are you thinking here? AL Central matchup. Keuchel, 38 innings on the season. He's kind of been a workhorse here. And like to Tony's point, J.A. Happ just 28 innings on the season, although only 6 earned runs. I guess that's a positive towards Happ. What are you thinking today?
It's White Sox versus a lefty, so you're either on the White Sox or on the over, or you're on the team total, and the over's gone down. There's starting to be some 7.5 showing up, which I don't understand completely, but to me, it's simple. It's White Sox or over in any game involving a lefty, and I lean a little bit more towards the over because I don't trust Keuchel. He doesn't strike guys out. He's not what he used to be. 2 players to note here, if you do play player props. Tim Anderson kills lefties. He's 9 for 16 with 2 homers in his career against J.A. Happ, and on the other side, Nelson Cruz, 16 of 49 with 5 homers in his career against Dallas Keuchel. And I, for now, have not seen any player props put up yet. But if you like playing total bases or hits or that sort of thing, I think Tim Anderson and Nelson Cruz are 2 guys that you should, A, look at some overs on, and B, if you do DFS, put them in your DFS lineups because they have good history and mediocre pitchers on the mound. So certainly I'd be trying to take advantage of that.
Shout out to the chat box. We got Rara, Abby Jackson in the house. Joe Esposito, welcome in. Also, we got Brian Leonard in the house. Brian Leonard, WagerTalk.com as well. Welcome in, Brian. Mike Campbell saying White Sox team total and over for the full game. 2 spots he's looking at in that one. Guys, we got 2 games left. Asian baseball play and best bets at the end. We got the LA Angels, Houston Astros, next game up, 8:10 Eastern, MLB Network showing this one. We get Andrew Haney and Uruguay going for the Astros. We're seeing Houston now, Matt, -122 favorites, 8.5 being the total here. What are you thinking in the AL West matchup tonight, Matt?
So it's incredible how many times the Astros have faced left-handed starters this season. You look at their numbers versus right-handed pitching and how little they've actually done. If you go back, and I haven't done exactly, but I'm pretty sure at least 50%, maybe closer to 60 or 65% of their games this season, they faced left-handed starting pitchers. They've already seen Heaney so far, and Heaney had 10 strikeouts in that game back on April 23rd. His strikeout total is a little high, but the Astros have these stretches where they strike out, where they don't strike out. out. One guy to look at here, Jose Altuve, 10 for 25 with a homer all time against Heaney. Urquidy, I don't know what to necessarily make of him. He has these starts, he's got 4 starts where he has 5 strikeouts or more, and then he has 3 starts with 2 strikeouts or less. And to me, when you're trying to navigate this tough lineup, you're going to want to get some strikeouts here. So I lean to the Angels here, but Heaney's a tough guy to back in certain situations. And plus the Astros, there are certain guys that have good numbers against him. So maybe you want to play a Jose Altuve prop or put him in your DFS lineup instead of actually playing the game.
Good stuff, Matt. And Tony, coming to you here in conclusion, I find this is a tricky handicap, Tony. I mean, both lineups against the handedness of the pitcher they're going to be facing are top 5 in MLB. But to Matt's point here, both pitchers have kind of, especially of recent, pitched very, very well. So it's kind of a tricky handicap in that aspect. Who's going to perform well lineup-wise? What are you thinking, Tony?
Well, I think Haney's over. Let's put it this way. I don't think he's done anything special. He's one of those guys, year in and year out, especially the last few years, that at first glance, my inclination is to fade Haney for lots of reasons. Haney he's not been near as bad as the entire pitching staff of the Angels. If you look at them, they rank dead last in ERA, et cetera, if you like surface numbers. And your quiddity, to Matt's point, pitches to contact. He's not going to strike a lot of guys out. In fact, the 10 strikeouts that Haney had against you is an aberration. This is a Houston team that puts the bat on the ball. I didn't like either side of this. If I was going to lean, I'm probably going to lean to Houston. They beat Houston's or LA's best pitcher last night, but I would lean to the over. As I think Matt made a very good case in everything he said that you probably would like the over 8.5. I think it's at 8.5. I lanced it at early this morning. I would lean to that over in this game. That would be those would be my first thoughts again against Haney and to the over.
Sure, Hitters Park, weather not going to be an issue either. Guys, last game here that we're breaking down before best bets. Out west again, Miami Marlins and Arizona Diamondbacks. We're seeing 8.5 being the total. And guys, we've had actually a pitching change here. I believe the Marlins were slated to have Rogers. So last night there was a lineup that you can see it there near about a pick'em price, minus 125 here, Tony, on the Diamondbacks. But since then, I believe Mattingly's come out and said they're going to give him one more day's rest and go with a bullpen game here. So it's not out at every sports book, but still want to talk about it because it is out at some sports books right now. We're seeing actually Arizona minus 160 to minus 170 favorites here, Tony. 8.5 being the total. What are you thinking with the Fish and D-backs tonight, Tony?
I liked Gallen at minus, I think it was minus 130 last night with Rogers on the mound. It really is irrelevant who's on the mound for Miami. They've not been a team that has, picked up the key hit this year or even been some overwhelming offensively. You have to consider this team offensively challenged. In fact, their pitching staff has to somehow meet in the back room and say, man, what are we going to do about this lineup? They just can't get the big hit for us because they're probably better than their surface numbers suggest they are. Gallen wasn't very good last time out. He struggled with his command. That's his Achilles. In this situation with the umpire, with the team he's facing, Gallen, I like minus 130 a lot better than I like minus 160. I was on, like I said at the beginning of the show, I was on Mad Bum yesterday. I thought the matchup was perfect. He's really been good as of recently, and his metrics, his RPMs, his rotations, everything's bigger and better than it's been the last 2 years. And Gallen's one of those guys that he's an all or nothing guy. Man, when he's on, he's good. He's really good. He doesn't have his command. He's going to struggle, and you're probably going to struggle a little bit with the Diamondbacks bullpen. So at minus 160, I'll still lean to Gallen. Again, I'm not in this room, not on this game tonight, but the Diamondbacks at home are much better offensively than they've been on the road. They got swept by this Miami team last weekend, mostly because it was in Marlins Park. When they're in Chase, they can compete with most teams in the National League or the American League for that matter.
That is a good point, Tony. The D-backs splits in terms of hitting a lot better at home. But, Matt, I'll tell you, Gallen, like Tony said, he has been good, but at times 14 walks in 26 innings, that's a little bit scary here. And the fact that I don't necessarily downgrade the Fish too much going to a bullpen game. I mean, their bullpen has been really good this season, and getting a plus 145 on them. You think that's worth a shot here, Matt?
I don't even know who the starter is. I'd like to at least know who's starting. I mean, if it's Castano, it's a guy that I like to fade because he doesn't get strikeouts and he's a mediocre lefty. And it all depends, when we kind of figure out who the starters are. To me, the only play in this game is, and once it comes out, I'll be interested, is Zach Gallen's strikeout total over, because the Marlins are one of those teams that's very strikeout prone. If you look at Gallen's numbers, 5, 7, 6, 6, 8. If it's 5.5, I'm jumping on the over for like a full unit here. If it's 6.5, I might go for like half a unit. But to me, I'm looking at Zach Gallen's strikeout total, because if he does keep the walks down and if he has an umpire that's conducive to a wider strike zone, then I think Gallen could take advantage of it. Remember, he is facing his old team here. Not that it really matters, because it's not like he had this massive long career at the Marlins. But I think Gallen at home, if the strikeout total is reasonable, I'm looking at Zach Gallen's over for the evening.
All right, guys, that does it for the 4 games we're breaking down on tonight's slate for the show. We got best bets at the end. Want to stay tuned for that. But first, going to throw it over to Tokyo Brandon for the Asian baseball quick pick. Tokyo Brandon, take it away.
Tokyo Brandon here. Last night we had a 4-0 sweep in Japanese baseball, including this free play video. Let's try to keep the momentum going. Tonight, the Yomiuri Giants travel to Yokohama to take on the DNA BayStars. The Yomiuri Giants are putting Sanchez on the mound, and he's had a pretty rocky start to this season, but if you take out his starts against the Hanshin Tigers, he's been a really good pitcher. The DNA BayStars are putting Nakagawa on the mound, and he's actually a converted reliever. His whip this season is 1.78, and he has not faced a lineup as potent as Yomiuri. I think the Yomiuri Giants take care of business. They're the 3rd best hitting team in the first 5 innings. I don't trust their bullpen. We're going to take the Yomiuri Giants in the first 5 innings on a 3-way money line or a minus 0.5 run line, whatever your book offers. That's the bet today. I'll be back with more. Thanks.
Thank you, Tokyo Brandon. Guys, time for best bets. Tony, Finn, mid-major Matt, check them both out today. WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Guys, yesterday, best bets. I lost a really tough one in the bottom of the 8th as a plus 200 underdog with Seattle. So I'll start us off here. I need a winner. I haven't got one yet this week, so picked one out here. Toronto Blue Jays plus 102, risk 100 to win 102. I like the slight underdog here. A couple reasons why I think we get the better starting pitcher, Ryu. He has 32 strikeouts, 4 walks on the season. Max Fried, we talked about it earlier, a high upside guy. He just hasn't shown it all that much this season. 15 earned runs and only 16 innings pitched, also 27 hits. I think the Blue Jays lineup's going to get to him. Plus the fact the Blue Jays, slightly better bullpen here. I know Romano did have 29 pitches last night, but even with him not pitching, I think the Blue Jays have the advantage in the later innings in the bullpen. And finally, guys, the Blue Jays plus 4 units on the season, 5-1 against the National League. Braves minus 4 units on the season, 1-5 against the American League. Interleague matchup here, I think points towards the Toronto Blue Jays plus 102. That's my best bet. Next up, mid-major Matt, guys, check him out, SportsMemo.com. He's been hot. Yesterday was 5-1. So mid-major Matt, where are you going for best bets for the show, buddy?
So I am going to the strikeout over prop for Hyunjin Ryu. Make sure to shop around to find the best price because they're all over the place. There are still some pluses out there. It's 5.5 is the number, and we talked about it earlier. The Braves are hitting 185 against left-handed pitching so far this season. They've got a strikeout rate of 28.6% against southpaws. Ryu's gone over this number 3 times. 2 other times he's had 5 strikeouts, and last year he faced the Braves in Atlanta, had 8 strikeouts in that game. And if you look at the left-handers who have faced Atlanta so far this year, we mentioned Robbie Ray yesterday had 10 strikeouts. He had 5 in an earlier game. John Lester had 5. Matt Moore had 5. Now, granted, that wouldn't have gone over the 5.5 number, but Lester and Moore aren't strikeout pitchers. And then, of course, Rogers, who was supposed to start for Miami, he had 7 strikeouts. And Madison Bumgarner also had 7 strikeouts. So, to me, I'll take a look, especially if it's a plus price, Hyunjin Ryu over 5.5 strikeouts for the Toronto Blue Jays.
I like it, Matt. Good luck with that. I guess we are slightly correlated in our best bets. Tony, coming to you last, buddy. Finish us off here. Where are we finishing up best bets tonight, Tony?
I'm going to make it quick and painless, hopefully. By the way, you lost your best or your free pick or best bet yesterday with Seattle because it was my free pick, too. I really liked the value in that play, and I had won 4 in a row on Wager Talk, and I put that plus 200 on Seattle against LA last night as well. So tough loss. Not only that,
That's what cost me.
Anybody who had +1 or +1.5 in that game
Lost that too. Yeah.
Didn't like it much either, did they?
No,
and there was a
awful.
few I knew that the few that did that. I like the Padres today, guys. A second game. By the way, it's a doubleheader, so they'll only be playing 7 innings. But I like the second game. I think the price is right. Snell wasn't very good last time out in San Francisco, but Lentz was the umpire in that game. He walked. He only gave up one hit, but it was a home run, a 2-runner by Posey. He gave up 4 runs, I think, in 4.2 innings, walked 6, and that the strike zone was awful small, and he wasn't at his best. I like fading Colorado when they're away from Coors Field, especially that offense. But they haven't been over the top, even at Coors Field. I know we're missing Tatis. He's out. I know that he leads this team in stolen bases, but I really like what San Diego's done to – they've compensated. When they've had injuries like this, they compensate. Look at up and down their lineups. They have stolen bases. They dominate, actually, in stolen bases. I think in the 30s total, been caught very few times. And they face one of the worst – if the lineups are correct, guys, and what I have is that Diaz will be the catcher in Game 2 in Colorado. He's only throwing out about 20% of the runners that steal on him, and I expect San Diego to be very aggressive on the base pass. As far as pitching matchup goes, Gomber versus Snell. Snell at his worst is better.
And I'm on the Blue Jays plus 102, Matt Josephs, Ryu over 5.5 Ks. We get Tony Finn, game number 2 here in the doubleheader. Padres minus 144, Tokyo Brandon there. Giants first 5 money line. So that does it for the show, guys. Looking to bounce back on best bets. Hopefully you liked the content. If you did, please smash the like button. It does help us out. And huge shout out to the chat box. As always, Abby, Jackson, Abel, Jim, Paul, if you're going up against me, I hope you lose, but thanks for joining us anyway. Joe as well, Paco Healy in the house, all of you guys. Love it that you're joining us live. And if you're not joining us live, that works as well. Feel free to leave a comment below on YouTube, Wager Talk YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, guys. For Tony and Matt, I am Drew. Best of luck with your bets. We'll talk tomorrow.
Sign up for the free Wager Talk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text Wager Talk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on wagertalk.com.